That evening, there was a lot of rain, the kind that caused everything to glitter with icy silver reflections and obscure the city lights. A young woman holding a borrowed clutch purse to her chest stood under a flickering lamppost on a calm street corner in downtown Chicago. Lily Carson was her name, and she had been promised that this would be the night when her life changed. She didn't own the satin outfit she was wearing. It was taken from her neighbor, a generous nurse, who maintained that Lily should have at least one evening to rediscover her beauty. Lily, however, had spent the last few years surviving rather than living, balancing 2 part-time jobs, following her father's stroke, trying to keep the lights on in a dilapidated apartment, and taking care of her younger brother Jake. As the wind tangled her hair and the rain seeped into the thin fabric of her heels, she started to question whether beauty had ever truly belonged to her in the first place. Dreams, dating, and love had all been reduced to words from a different era. Lily was hesitant when her co-worker persuaded her to go on a blind date that a friend had set up. She wasn't prepared for criticism, particularly from a successful person. However, a deep-seated feeling, perhaps desperation or hope, whispered that she had nothing left to lose. She borrowed her clothing, applied a little lipstick, and braved the storm with nervous hands. Please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you think that genuine hearts are beautiful, kindness is admirable, and second chances are possible. These heartwarming tales are kept alive and spreading throughout the world because to your help, people saved up for the type of restaurant where the date was scheduled. Soft jazz music, warm, golden lighting, and waiters who appear to glide rather than walk. It was unlike anything Lily had ever experienced. Her chest constricted as she saw her reflection in the restaurant glass. She didn't look right. The blue dress that was borrowed didn't fit well. Her toes were squeezed by her shoes, and the rain slightly soiled her makeup. But, hoping the man she was meeting wouldn't see through her facade of confidence, she faked a tiny smile and went inside. Tall, calm, and wearing a dark gray suit, he sat waiting at a corner table. He was a software engineer named Ethan Miller, and out of boredom, his friends had surreptitiously registered him for the same dating app. Since his wife died in an accident 2 years earlier, love had always been a silent, ethereal, and uncertain thing to him. He only had a supper and courteous chat in mind for tonight. However, something changed when he noticed Lily approaching him. She wasn't the type of lady who was looking for attention. However, there appeared to be a brief silence in the room. Her attempt to conceal her anxiety behind a quivering smile had an air of vulnerability, sincerity, and humanity. The evening started off with courteous but guarded small conversation. At first, Lily's voice wavered as she traced the menu's edge with her fingertips to avoid looking into his eyes. She was afraid he would see that she had foregone dinner to pay for the cab fare here, or that her dress had a tiny tear close to the hem. Ethan, though, didn't appear to notice. Rather, he saw how her eyes softened when she talked about her brother, or how she chuckled softly when she found out she had been talking too much. Lily forgot to be self-conscious for the first time in a long time as the tension between them gradually subsided. Then the unexpected occurred point one of Lily's co-workers entered the restaurant with a group of buddies halfway through the lunch. She was a woman named CLA, and she had always made fun of Lily's old shoes and cheap purses. Her eyebrows flew up when she saw Lily seated across from a man like Ethan. She smirked as she murmured something to her pals, and soon after, the room was filled with silent laughter. Lily's cheeks began to get hotter. She sensed that their eyes were piercing her back. She felt shame pressing down on her chest like an immovable weight. She apologized in a whisper as she reached for her luggage. "I apologize." Her voice broke as she said, "I shouldn't be here." Ethan gave her a perplexed look. "What do you mean?" Without being able to speak, Lily shook her head. The shame was overwhelming. She could hear the murmurs and the chuckles. That's Lily, the one who works at the front desk. That clothing was probably borrowed. She pushed back her chair as tears filled her eyes. Ethan, however, reached across the table and gently took her hand before she could stand. Although he didn't speak louder, his remarks echoed like a subdued storm throughout the eatery. "Lily, you can shine without wearing expensive clothing. You have it already." Everything halted for a while. The laughter subsided. The waiters stopped. Breathless and shaky, Lily gazed into his eyes and noticed something she hadn't seen in years. Sincerity. Kindness that is steadfast and unwavering, without judgment or sympathy. Ethan continued to grasp her hand as he got to his feet. He looked at the table where people were chatting and asked, "You know what? Let's leave this place. The hot chocolate at the restaurant across the street is superior to the wine here." After hesitating, Lily nodded. They walked back out into the rain after leaving the restaurant together.
However, it didn't feel cold this time. They took cover beneath a little awning near a peaceful cafe. As they sat by the window, steam rising from their mugs, the air was infused with the aroma of cocoa and cinnamon. Lily chuckled quietly as she acknowledged how absurd the evening had become. Ethan seen her smile extend to her eyes for the first time. She told him about her hardships, the evenings she sobbed herself to sleep over expenses, and her father's illness. Ethan listened with great respect rather than sympathy. He told her about his wife's passing, the quiet that had ensued after she was gone, and how he had forgotten what laughter even sounded like. The rain had ceased by the time they left the cafe, and the city lights were reflected in puddles like shards of stars. Ethan accompanied her home out of calm concern rather than duty. She apologized once more for not being a more impressive person as they arrived at her building, an old brick building with peeling paint. He gave a soft smile. "You don't think it's impressive to be real? There are many people in the world who pretend to be flawless, but you, Lily, were authentic. That requires bravery." After he departed that evening, Lily spent a considerable amount of time sitting by her window, seeing the faint outline of dawn as it crept across the city. For the first time in years, she felt seen, even though she had no idea what the future held. Weeks passed instead of days. They started getting together more frequently, occasionally for coffee, and other times simply to stroll and converse. With Ethan's unceasing support rather than large gestures, Lily gradually regained her confidence. He reassured her of her power while she was doubting herself. She reassured him that there were still pleasant surprises in life when he had given up. They weren't attempting to make each other better. They were supporting one another's recovery. Months later, one afternoon, Lily found herself standing in front of the same boutique window she had passed each morning on her way to work. A simple dress that was soft, exquisite, and far too costly for her was hanging inside. After a few moments, Ethan joined her after observing her silent gaze. "You like it?" he had inquired. She grinned. "It's beautiful, but I think I'm done borrowing things to feel worthy." Ethan's expression was unreadable as he gazed at her for a while, then he responded, "Good, because the only thing you ever needed to wear was your courage," with a warmth that made her heart skip a beat. They went back to the restaurant where they had first met that evening. Lily arrived this time dressed in her own clothing. Just a basic skirt and white blouse, nothing special. However, there was a certain sparkle in her smile that attracted everyone's attention. They sat down, and Ethan grasped her hand. And as the waiter arrived to take their order, he silently asked, "Do you know what I see when I look at you?" After catching Lily's eye, she gave a headshake. He remarked, "I see grace, and I hope one day you'll see it, too." It had been months since the laughing from that corner table. Ethan knew what true beauty looked like, whereas others who made fun of her would never get it. And that evening, in the bright light of the restaurant's lights, Lily came to the realization that she could shine without taking anyone else's life, clothing, or acceptance. All along, she had been carrying her own light. She simply hadn't remembered to search for it. If you were moved by this tale, please subscribe to our channel, like, and share it. With each click, we are able to tell additional tales that show the world that love, bravery, and generosity are still present. We would want to know if you think that genuine beauty originates from the heart before you leave. Please leave a comment below and let us know what you think. Ethan took Lily home at the end of the night, walking her down the same quiet street where it had all started. No humiliation, no fear, no rain this time. There are just two persons strolling alongside each other, their steps steady and gentle. And Lily finally got it when she turned to face the stars. When you stop trying to please everyone and just let your heart be seen, sometimes the most wonderful things in life start to happen. Because true love was unconcerned with elegant attire. It was always concerned with the individual.